I'm Gordon Walton. I'm a game development executive and a permaculturalist. I think I kind of stumbled into it. When I was a kid, I thought I would end up being a scientist, a biologist. Wasn't sure exactly what kind of scientist, but I ended up being a computer scientist and deciding that games was more interesting than most of the other things I could have done. 35 or 36 years this year. Well, today what I do in game development is I build teams that build products. So, a long time ago I used to make products myself. I was the designer programmer in the beginning. Later I was a producer with, small teams, then larger teams, then larger and larger teams. I've worked, been, I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate enough to work on some of the largest products ever built. But I think I was always interested in the challenge of doing something nearly impossible always attracted me. How can you make something that seems crazy actually come, get shipped, which is always a challenge. Shipping anything's a challenge, but shipping the really crazy stuff is what has attracted me for most of my career. Well, outside of games, what I do is I do permaculture, which is a design science for using nature's patterns to do things more sustainably. So I do that as a hobby, and it's an interesting hobby. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. Well, tomorrow I think if I won the lottery and I could do anything I wanted to do forever, I would still probably make games, but I would also probably spend the majority of my time working on permaculture efforts. I would not only finish the job that I'm planning to do on my land here, but start helping my neighbors improve their particular properties with using the schemes and the patterns of permaculture. Well, permaculture excites me because it's basically flowing with nature rather than making nature our bitch, which is kind of how we do agriculture. We do everything. If you look at how we operate on the surface of the earth, we pretty much carve it and make it exactly the way we want it. We make lots of straight lines and lots of monocrops and lots of things to make it easy for us, but we don't actually work with the earth the way the earth has always worked. And I think that permaculture for me is a way to get back to more of that and actually create more biodiversity, more soil. I would say I first bumped into permaculture probably in 2008 or 9. I'd already gone through, I had gardens here before that, so I'd kind of worked my way through traditional gardening to square foot gardening to co-planting to even seeing some biodynamic stuff before I ran into permaculture. So, but permaculture is not really just about gardening. It's really just about using nature's patterns to your advantage. Well, I think that the two parts of my life already converge. I use the principles of permaculture even in the work that I do for gaming at this point, because it is just it's a science about looking at energy flows and figuring out, how do you use what you have most effectively and not creating waste streams. Every waste stream is actually an input for something else if you think about it correctly. So I think that I've incorporated my learning in permaculture already into my game work. Yeah, I'm out here as frequently as I can. It's kind of a equilibrium creator for me. My work is very intense and very people oriented, and out here it's more nature and working on kind of nature's pattern and nature's time frames, not my own time frame. So I'm nudging things along, but I'm not actually making things, I can't just snap my fingers and make things happen. Oh yeah, well, the family comes up here a couple times a month. And we've had people, when we had a house here still, we used to have people out here all the time. So yeah, it's another way to create community. And actually, I know my neighbors around the property here better than I know my neighbors back in town. Well, we're trained by we're trained not to actually be in community by the media. Actually tells you the people next door to you are crazy, psycho, have marital problems, and want to borrow your shit and never bring it back. So yeah, you know, you're constantly bombarded by society to not actually connect with community. Whereas when you live more rurally, you pretty much have to connect with people because you're going to face common problems together. Well, I don't think anybody in the games business is actually sane. In fact, everybody I know who's managed to retire, I consider that they have gone sane. And most people relapse, though. Very few people actually fully make the exit. But I noticed in, you know, in your stuff how some people had actually made the exit. So I'm always encouraged when I see that people can actually go sane and stay sane. So yeah, because if you make games, you have to be crazy. You know, you just got to be nuts. It's such challenging work. You know, it has so many highs and lows. You know, you have to be ready to do that kind of investment mentally and emotionally into it to continue to do it. Like any creative work, really. We call it making games, but if you look at any creative endeavor, it's the same thing. You're going to put a lot more into it than you would into just making a living.